Hi everyone, this is Mindy. Welcome to my channel. In today's card project, I have another fun themed postage collage card that I want to share with you. So I'm going to walk you through the layers, the colors that I used for the ink blending, and then how I finished the design off. I absolutely love any type of postage collage themed card, and I really love when companies come out with just different varieties of stencils to create the different scenes throughout the year. I will have a link to my visual supply list listed down below in the video description. The products that I'm going to be using today is the Postage Collage Coastal Stencil. This is from Waffle Flower. I also have the original Postage Collage die set, and then the coastal greetings that coordinate perfectly with this scene. I'm going to start off by placing a sticky mat down onto my work surface. This one happens to be from Simon Says Stamp. It is going to hold my cardstock and my stencil in place. Off screen, I die cut out a white piece of cardstock from the Postage Collage Die, and then I'm going to place the first layer of the stencil over the top. And this is going to ink blend the scenes right inside of each of those individual areas or squares. I don't use sticky mats a whole lot, but I do find them very helpful for the postage collage stencils. Now, the stencils do have indications or etchings on them to let you know what layers you are creating. So, this one is going to be creating the sky and then the background for like the crab and the shells. I am starting off with Aqua Sky. All of my inks are from Concord and Ninth, and I use a small blending brush to apply that color. The small blending brush really does help kind of control the area a little bit or where the ink is being applied. Then I came in at the very top with Oceanside to have that kind of gradual transition from dark to light. I did bring in a little bit of post-it tape to mask off some of the areas at the bottom. I tend to get a little carried away sometimes when I'm ink blending. So the post-it tape kind of helps control that. Then for the background on the bottom three here, I started off with Pebble, and then I'm going to come in with Wheat. And keep in mind, if you're using a Concord and Ninth inks, or actually a lot of inks will do this, is that they appear very dark when they're wet and first applied, but after they dry, it will dry back just a little bit. So that is the first layer of the stencil. I just peeled that off. I'm going to line up the second layer of the stencil. This one, again, there's etchings on the stencil to tell you what areas will be ink blended. So I started up in the top corner with the sun, and I'm using Honeycomb Ink again for that. That seems really dark and a little off, but it will dry back perfectly. Then for the crab, I'm going to come in with grapefruit. So I use that for the two crabs. There's actually two crabs on here. I'm also going to use it for the boat and the lighthouse. And this may seem maybe not quite the color that you would think, but once I bring in my contrasting color, which is going to be Brickyard, it is the perfect combination to have a highlight and kind of that shadow area for the colors. I think this combination is going to be amazing for Christmas cards with your Christmas flowers. Then down in the bottom, we have a couple seashells. I brought in a pink. I will have that on the supply list. I don't remember it offhand, but just a light pink there that's going to go for one of the seashells. I will peel back that second layer, bring in the third layer of the stencil. Again, I did do a little bit of masking. I'm doing the other shell in a teal, but I really just picked up the excess ink that I had on my glass mat. And now I'm going to do the water. So I'm starting with Harbor, which again looks pretty dark. For one, like I said, it's wet. Two, I may actually have some leftover ink of a darker color on my blending brush. But then I'll come in with Blueberry towards the bottom of the water. And again, such a beautiful, rich blue color combination. I'll move down to the anchor and I will start with Dove ink, which again seems pretty dark, but I'm going to bring in mushroom on one side and that really intensifies it. I really wanted to use like a silver metallic pigment ink, but I completely forgot. So the gray anchor still works perfectly. Now we have some finishing details. So this is the last layer of the stencil. I started with a rope and I did nutmeg for that. You can see I moved on to a detail blending brush because these are getting pretty small in size. I did some of the cranberry over the dots for the crab. Now, it also does the eyes for the crabs, and I left that open. I left them white. I moved up to the top for the birds, the fish, and then the additional elements for the lighthouse, and that I just did in a black ink. There's also detail you can add to the seashells, but again, I just skipped that layer. That was the last layer of the stencil. I will just peel this off of my sticky mat and absolutely love how that scene came together. I'm going to add some splatters. This is just some bleed proof pH Martin ink that I mixed with a little bit of water and splattered onto the background. And now my sentiment. This is the coastal greeting. So there's a lot of really, really great sentiments. I do like having themed sentiments because I think it makes the projects unique. So I picked out this one that says "You are crabulous," and I'm showing you this here is that I stamped it. I was gonna restamp. I must have shifted my paper, so I had to stamp it again. So just wanted to show you that yes, mistakes happen. I did also stamp it in red just to see which one I would like better. Now, on these stamp sets, which is something that Waffle Flower I think is fairly new to doing, is there is a number next to each sentiment on your stamp set, and each of the dies are numbered. So in this case, I think this was number 8 on the stamp set. So I found the die that had the number 8 on the back and die cut that out. You still have to do a little hunting on the die set, but doesn't take as long because all you need to do is look for the number and not necessarily line up the dies to find the right one. I want to add some of those postage marks onto my card before I pop it up onto a card front. For this, I'm using the Postage Collage Sentiment Set and Postage Collage Circle Sentiments, I think they're called. Again, that is all linked in that visual supply list that I'm providing down below. So I lined everything up in my mini Misty, and I'm going to stamp all of those down in Versafine ink. Kind of a side secret is I had actually already added foam tape to the back of this panel before I remembered I wanted to stamp all of those additional sentiments on there. So I had to carefully rip my foam tape off to be able to stamp everything. Then I went back, added my foam tape. This is just some foam tape from Altenew. I added it to a card panel that is cut from Oceanside Cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I stacked my sentiment. And you can see that I did end up going with the black. I'm really trying to branch out and use colored ink for my sentiments, but I just really love that pop of black. I have a few extra details that I want to add to the front of the card. So here I added a couple small black dots for the eyes. Might look a little creepy, but I liked the pop of white better than coloring it in with a light gray or anything. I also came in and added some highlights to some of the images, the crabs, the lighthouse, the shells. And then I added stardust stickles to the lighthouse and to the outside edge of my sun. That's going to finish off my coastal theme postage collage card. And I'm curious, have you jumped on this postage collage train? I did. I am trying to use them more and really dig into my stash. I love how all of this comes out and the different scenes you can create throughout the year. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. I will again have the visual supply list linked down below in the video description and over on my blog. Thank you all so much for joining, and I will see you again soon.